是某某平台的 IB 吗？
我常常听身边的顾客朋友说，做 IB 的都是很轻松的工作，不是去打打 golf， 就是去和客户喝茶，就能赚到可高达5位数的收入了。
我只想说，你只看到了一部分的事实。我认识的一些 IB， 他们的平台都没有提供很多的 support 给他们的自家 IB， 有时被客户问到 signal 或市场分析，他们还要去其他平台买 signal 提供给客户。
而我能够把我 IB 的业绩一直保持并持续成长，选择一个能帮助你发挥的平台，绝对是最重要的决定。毕竟选择比努力重要。在 VC Forex Capital， 你和你的客户可以交易到的产品有外汇、贵金属如黄金、原油、虚拟货币、指数和超过400个美国股票。而且公司会提供的 support 有每周至少2次的线上课程、Telegram 信号群、每日市场分析，还有6月开始，我们会有著名的市场分析师兼 YouTuber 开用，为你和你的客户提供线上直播，为你现场分析市场，现场带单。最重要的是 Forex Capital 是一家成功获得美国期货协会所颁发的 MFA 牌照，让你和你的客户可以安心的把资金投资在这里交易和建立你的 IB 团队。如果你有兴趣了解 VC Forex Capital 的 IB 优惠，近日我们会在柔佛新山有一场 Forex Capital 的线下 IB 招商会。现场我们也会提供红酒给大家，让我们一边品尝红酒，一边讨论如何把你目前的业绩推上更高峰。点击下面的链接，我们会有专人联系你。我们到时见。
你是某某平台的 IB 吗？
我常常听身边的顾客朋友说，做 IB 的都是很轻松的工作，不是去打打 golf， 就是去和客户喝茶，就能赚到可高达5位数的收入了。
我只想说，你只看到了一部分的事实。我认识的一些 IB， 他们的平台都没有提供很多的 support 给他们的自家 IB， 有时被客户问到 signal 或市场分析，他们还要去其他平台买 signal 提供给客户。
而我能够把我 IB 的业绩一直保持并持续成长，选择一个能帮助你发挥的平台，绝对是最重要的决定。毕竟选择比努力重要。在 VC Forex Capital， 你和你的客户可以交易到的产品有外汇、贵金属如黄金、原油、虚拟货币、指数和超过400个美国股票。而且公司会提供的 support 有每周至少2次的线上课程、Telegram 信号群、每日市场分析，还有6月开始，我们会有著名的市场分析师兼 YouTuber 开用，为你和你的客户提供线上直播，为你现场分析市场，现场带单。最重要的是 Forex Capital 是一家成功获得美国期货协会所颁发的 MFA 牌照，让你和你的客户可以安心的把资金投资在这里交易和建立你的 IB 团队。如果你有兴趣了解 VC Forex Capital 的 IB 优惠，近日我们会在柔佛新山有一场 Forex Capital 的线下 IB 招商会。现场我们也会提供红酒给大家，让我们一边品尝红酒，一边讨论如何把你目前的业绩推上更高峰。点击下面的链接，我们会有专人联系你。我们到时见。
All right, good evening. Hey, welcome back to today's session over here. We'll get started for now. Okay, so as usual, we're gonna look at the overall market and of course, look up for opportunities that we can look to trade for the remaining couple of days, today and tomorrow in the market, and of course, a little bit into Monday. Okay, very quickly, I'll bring you to the Forex Factory event calendar here first, okay, because as of now, 8:30, as I mentioned, right, we have this core PCE price index data coming in, okay, which is important, right, because I shared with you that this is actually an inflationary data that the Fed is looking very closely. Okay, and you can see over here, while the market expected 0.4%, the actual data came in 0.3. Okay, so perhaps inflationary pressure is slowing down a little bit. Okay, and of course that does not mean a total reversal from hiking rates. Inflation is definitely still high, but okay, from this maybe it's starting to slow down a little bit, and perhaps the Fed might not be too aggressive in hiking, or perhaps the whole hiking process might end earlier, or it starts to show effect. Okay, so in a way, we are seeing a little bit of a short-term little sell-off in the dollar, not a huge one. Okay, but you can see if I go down to the lower time frame, okay, we have the dollar selling off a little bit when the data came in, because this data here is actually not as good or not as high, okay, as what people has forecasted. Okay, so this is something that you guys can also relate to, and the importance of fundamental understanding. Okay, so a lot of times I see traders when they trade news. Okay, they are basically trading it on the surface, right? On the surface means, oh, it's red in color. They probably don't really understand what this news is. They don't know the importance of it, but they saw, okay, red color means it's important, and then they just trade it off. Like if it's red, they sell. If it's green, they buy. Now sometimes you might make money out of it. Okay, for instance, like this time around, it's red and the dollar is selling off a little bit. But that itself is not a very solid and stable or even reliant strategy. Okay, because yes, from time to time it might work out, but if you don't really understand the fundamental perspective, the importance of that piece of data, you'll be just basically blindly guessing, right? So the aspect over here, while I'm focusing a lot on technical analysis, the understanding of fundamental is important, right? Because it gives you some backdrop information to prepare yourself to understand the market movement along the way. Okay, so that's something that I just want to highlight. Other than this data, of course, tomorrow nothing much. We have the Canadian holiday. We do have the US ISM manufacturing PMI, but again, this data is not that significant. Okay, yes, it's red color on Forex Factory, but from a fundamental understanding, it's not gonna move the market a lot. Okay, so yep, that's it for the week in terms of events. Nothing much other than that. Yesterday, speeches did not really move the market a lot. Okay, yeah, so that's about it in terms of risk event. Okay, so now let's take a look at the S&P in terms of general equities market first, and then we'll go into the dollar index and of course move into the major pairs over here. Right, so if you take a look at S&P, if you remember on Tuesday, okay, when the market gave this push up, I share with you guys and say that don't jump in immediately, because we just have an impulse, right? And we want to wait and see how the market react after that. So coming back today, 2 days after that sharing, okay, so what you see right now is a little bit on the impulsive downside, right? The market actually retraced, but it seems to be retracing quite strong. Okay, not something that I like. We do see a little bit of a stall here, because if I pull in my fib, it's about that 50% mark. Okay, is at that 50%, okay, or even close to the 61.8 zone. Okay, so there is some kind of reaction as of now, just simply based on that fib. But this itself, as I mentioned, is not a buy immediately, right? I'm still holding to a bullish bias in the overall equities as of now, at least for the short term, as I cover, right? On Tuesday, short term we are looking for upside, but I don't think the overall equities market is ready to rally yet. So any buy opportunity or any buy trade that you take from an indices point of view or even stock market perspective, you want to do it short term, right? So looking at this, what I would want to wait out for is a little bit more of a confirmation, because this drop is rather impulsive. So I want to see a bit of a pushback up. You don't need to get involved at the very bottom. Even if you get involved maybe somewhere nearer here, the potential target is all the way back there, right? So you still have a lot that you can capitalize on. Okay, so I think no need to rush in for now. Let's give it maybe a couple of days. Maybe by Tuesday, okay, we come back in if we have a better opportunity on the indices that I can share with you more in terms of the setup. Okay, right now there isn't. Okay, perhaps one of the potential setup over here is that if this continue to just drop, okay, by Monday, if it comes back to 3636, which is a previous low, kind of give us a pattern of a potential reversal, a double top, a double bottom, then this one here, of course, is a very good level to keep an eye on for buy. Alternatively, of course, if this push up a little bit, there's a tiny flag here by Monday or Tuesday, then we can look for the buy as well. Okay, so equity side, I think just be patient for now. Might not be the best time to get involved yet. Okay, of course, this includes if you're trading on Nasdaq, Dow Jones, I think is similar to S&P. Okay, now some of you are interested. I know traders, some of them are looking at China market, okay, which I personally do not do that, right? I don't invest, I don't trade in the China market because of the huge uncertainty coming from Chinese government. Okay, but of course, huge volatility means higher risk, but at the same time also means higher reward. So it's really up to individual preference. But right now you can see is that we have a very nice channel on the China index, okay, and we are kind of testing and breaking the top of this channel. I don't think it's an immediate buy yet, but what you can wait out for is if it's able to maintain above that channel and does a little bit of a consolidation, this has a good potential of more upside. But just do take note that if you are trading into China index or China market, a lot of it really boils back down to the Chinese government, right? Because they can literally do anything overnight, just like the sell of Alibaba. The government just stopped Ant Group from IPO. Okay, things similar like that can really just affect the Chinese market. Okay, so just take note of that. Okay, just wanted to touch on this because from a technical point of view, it's breaking out. Okay, so some investors and traders might be looking at it. So just wanted to touch on that very quickly. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at the dollar index, right? If I bring you back to the 4-hour time frame, okay, the dollar index, if you recall, on Tuesday, we were looking at it from this perspective, right? And I mentioned there are two ways to look at it. One is this can come back down, test the bottom, then push up, or secondly, it can just go from here, right? So what we observe right now is it just took off from there, okay? But I just want you to see the pattern, right? If I were to isolate this pattern out, okay, if I were to take this pattern out, okay, and we isolate it out of the entire chart and just focus on this, okay, I want you to learn and recognize pattern, right? Because this pattern here, which is an impulse push followed by correction, has a very high probability that the next move will go up, right? So it can either just come back and retest here, as I mentioned, or it can just go. Okay, so the thing that you need to do as a trader is just recognize the pattern, okay, and in the future, if you see something similar, capitalize on that, right? So that's all you really need to do as a trader. Okay, so in terms of this, again, this pattern, right, as a push and then a correction, you can really look at this pattern happening across different asset classes, right? across different time frame as well, and the principle of that applies. Okay, so right now in terms of like dollar index, okay, what we are seeing over here is that we are seeing a little bit of a rejection right now. One way to look at it is you can actually use this fib to look at, this very nice 100% Fibonacci extension. What exactly that is basically we are measuring, this previous impulse move, and we kind of duplicate that, and you realize that, oh, it's about equal length, right? Right. So the market has this kind of reaction and pattern as well, where most of the time when we have an equal leg like this, equal length, we do, have a high probability of seeing some kind of reaction. Not 100% all the time we're going to see that, but there's a high probability we're going to see it, right? Which is happening right now in terms of the dollar index. So adding on to that, we kind of have this little resistance over here as well. Okay. Which of course is not like perfect. Okay, nothing is perfect. It did not really test all the way to the high, but it came close to within this zone. We have this Fibonacci over there. There's a good possibility we're going to see a little bit of a retracement in terms of the dollar. Okay, so as a trader, you want to start paying attention again at this point in time, right? You want to monitor and see, is it gonna come down and reverse strongly, or is the market just simply having some kind of reaction and it starts to do a little bit of a consolidation sideways move like that? Because if the market is gonna do this in the next couple of days, then there's a higher probability of what? More upside, right? Because again, what is this pattern? This pattern here always suggests upside. Okay, so we won't know for sure now, but if we give it a couple of more days, maybe 2 or 3 days, as we come back next week, Tuesday, if we start to see a little clearer pattern, okay, then of course our analysis and projection will be of a higher probability. So for now, let's just be patient and remain neutral for the dollar index, okay, and let's see how it goes. Okay, having said that, I'm not sure how many of you managed to capitalize on euro. Okay, I remember on Tuesday we did share that when the market was still here, we did share that this is a very good opportunity to sell the euro, at least for the short term. Okay, because of a couple of reasons that we explained on Tuesday, right? We have this little push, we have this consolidation that's going up again, patterns, and on top of that we have a triple top formation near that previous support and resistance, and of course when we're sharing the time we have this trend line, the market is breaking. Okay, so couple of confluences, different factors come together, help to build a case for the trade. Okay, so you realize that when I share with you an opportunity, it's not just because of one thing, okay, but there are many things coming in together, many factors overlaying one another, and that's what we call confluences. Okay? The more confluences is aligned in terms of that same direction that you're looking at, of course the probability will be higher. As a trader, when you take the trade, your confidence, your conviction level will be higher as well. Okay, so this is a very nice trade on euro dollar. I can't exited that trade already. I took some profits of it. Okay, for those of you who managed to also capitalize on this move, fantastic, right? It's a very simple and easy trade. Now, moving forward, right? So what's next on euro dollar? Okay, we can then come back to this level over here. Okay, the market is kind of coming back towards this previous support. The question is, of course, will it break or will it bounce? Okay, will it break through or will it bounce? Now, last Tuesday, this Tuesday, the last session, we also talked about this thing called value area or key levels that you want to pay attention to, right? And this is definitely one, right? Very obvious. Okay, so what you want to pay attention to is how the market is gonna develop around this zone. Is it gonna do a crawl, which is, if it does something like that, then what we do, we look for the buy, right? It's a reversal pattern. If it's able to break through and then does a retracement here, then what we do, we look for the sell. Okay, so again, we wait. Okay, we wait and see what's next. right now we don't want to sell, right? Because it doesn't make sense to sell into a support where the potential profit you can get out of this trade is so small, right? And it's also not a good time to buy, right? Because if you buy now, what happens if it just goes, right? You need a little bit more confirmation, right? So this falls back towards as a strategy. If you recall, right, I talk about every strategy has an analysis method. Okay, you have an analysis process, execution method, and then you have your risk management, right? Management technique. Okay, so this is the three core component of a strategy. Okay, and every strategy, if we go deeper, right, every strategy needs to get two things right. Okay, one is the direction for you to make money. Okay, and the other one is what we call timing. Okay, at the end of the day, your analysis, your execution, your management technique is about managing the direction and the timing of your trade. Okay, direction means, do you focus on the buy or do you focus on the sell? Okay, or it's not clear, you don't trade, maintain a neutral perspective. Timing is about getting in and getting out. Okay, so if you take a look at this on this case study over here in Euro, okay, right now the direction is clear, right? I wouldn't want to be selling. So what's the direction I'm really focusing on? Potential reversal. Okay, so I have a very clear direction I want to look out for. But in terms of timing, right now, this is not the best time to get in, right? So you realize I have a direction, but I don't have a timing. So what you do as a trader is you don't enter yet, okay? You wait until it's more or less an ideal time, then you execute, okay? That's where our execution method comes in. Okay, so I hope it helps, right? And I hope, through explaining this, you can really see all these different principles and elements coming in to build up, what goes into the trade plan and the strategy itself, right? It's not so straightforward like, you see this, you buy, you see that, you sell, okay? There's more to that. Hopefully you can appreciate that as well. Okay, so that's on the Euro. So we just wait for now. In terms of pound dollar, we kind of had this. I think I shared with you on Tuesday as well, right? This is a setup we're looking at. Moving forward to today, you can see we're getting very close to this level of entry, 2090, but it's not there yet. Okay, and if you take a look at this, I kind of like how the market is developing since Tuesday, right? We expected it to come down slowly. It did in fact came down a little bit slower, and we start to see on the lower time frame a little bit of a divergence, right? So you can see over here, okay, the market is starting to give a lower low, but in terms of RSI, you can see it's actually moving higher, right? So from a 4-hour time frame perspective, I like that this is coming down correctively. On the 1-hour time frame, I like that it's doing a little bit of a divergence already. Okay, so again, what is this called? It's called confluence, right? More than one element supporting our case in looking for a buy trade over here. Okay, now is it going to be 100% winning? If that's the case, no. Okay, it's still probability, but the probability is high. Okay, so in terms of pound dollar, to be honest, nothing much to update. This entire trade setup is still valid. Okay, from a 4-hour perspective, that's how I'm gonna get involved in it. I have my entry, I have my stop, I have my take profit above that. Nothing has changed since Tuesday. Okay. However, for those of you who perhaps like to be a little bit more short-term and active, okay, what you can do is you can go down to the 1-hour time frame. Okay, so we kind of had this little channel over here, right? Okay, so what you can do is you can go down to the 1-hour time frame, and we have this divergence as we cover. Okay, so what you can consider to do is perhaps you can look for a breakout, okay, with your stop just below that. Taking your execution as a 1-hour divergence setup. Okay, so if you're interested in that, then the level to look out for is somewhere around 2170 for a potential breakout entry. Your stop here will be 2090. Okay, so your stop loss would definitely be smaller as compared to the 4-hour time frame. This is about 75 to 80 pips of stops. Okay, and of course the target over here, you can aim for the top of the channel as your first target, and if you want, you can keep it the same as what we have just now. Okay, which is gonna be somewhere around 2565, right? So your risk reward can become a little bit more attractive as well. Okay, because you are going down to a lower time frame to do what we call some kind of like refinement. In a way, you are playing around with multi time frame analysis. Okay, and of course with a tighter stop loss, your risk to reward ratio naturally becomes better as well. I might also consider do this, right? Because this is something that I really love when the risk reward is such nice potential, right? So I might even consider to do that after the sharing. You know, I might change my stop to the 1 hour as I share with you over here. Okay, remove my 4-hour setup, take the 1 hour setup instead. Okay, so that's on the pound dollar. I would jump to dollar franc first, and then we'll cover the commodity currencies Aussie, Kiwi, and CAD. Because I already have this trade running and just want to talk about it. On Tuesday we did share this, right? And I shared with you that we are seeing dollar franc coming towards this significant level. And how is it coming? It's coming down very, very correctively. And if we bring in our RSI, we have that divergence, right? And that's the reason why we're looking for the buy. Okay, we're looking for the reversal because this pattern has a high probability of reversing. Okay, so what we observe right now is that if I zoom in a little bit, okay, if you follow through, you might be in the trade running right now. Okay, my breakout entry level is around 9590, which you can see is at this high. My stop loss is at that low, which put me around 9490, 100 pips stop loss. My target is of course at the top, right? So we had a little breakout and the market is kind of pulling back a little bit. But you know, that's the volatility of the market, right? Will this trade be a winning one? I don't know. Okay. In fact, I can tell you no trader know, right? But what we know is what? This pattern, if you trade it consistently enough, the discipline to follow through, is a profitable pattern, right? Which means maybe out of 10. Okay, 10 is a very small sample size, but the accuracy of it is somewhere around 60 to 70%. Okay, so to kind of simplify the math, if you take 10 trades that has this pattern over here, you have a good chance of winning 6 to 70 of them. Yeah, 6 to 7 of them. Okay, so this one here, is this gonna be the winning one? We won't know, but we know it has an edge over the market, right? So nothing much to update over here if you're looking at this trade. If you're not in, okay, you can consider to maybe look for a breakout. Okay, if you're in, just make sure your stop is in place. The target we are looking is at 1.0025. Okay, so nothing much over here. We'll see how it goes. But perhaps what I can share a bit is the management of your trade is also important. Okay, so in the event, okay, because from now until Tuesday, there are some days, right? There's Friday, and then there's Monday, and then there's Tuesday, London session. Okay, 3 days before our next sharing. If let's say this trade starts to break off impulsively, okay, what you can do is you can decide to shift your stop to break even to protect this trade, right? And usually when we shift our stops to break even, we call it risk free, because the worst case scenario that can happen to that trade is you're never gonna lose money anymore. Okay, so that's part of the management technique. Of course, if this goes up and it pulls back a little bit, what you can consider to do is also what we call a scale in, which means you can actually shift your stops to break even. Your first trade has 0 risk. You look to get involved in another trade over here, perhaps with a breakout, with your stop loss in place, and you look for the same target. Okay, so your risk maintains constant, right? Because the first trade, there's 0 risk. You only take the second trade with, you know, whatever risk you're prepared to take. So this entire trade idea remains similar risk. Okay, you're not adding more risk, right? But the good thing about this is if both trades eventually work out, okay, your reward can be pretty solid. Okay, so this is what we call scale in technique. Okay, where you remove one risk from the first trade, you look to take another trade in the same direction. Okay, so this is something a little bit more advanced. Of course, if you are familiar with it, you can consider doing something like that, right? You never know, maybe this might really happen by Monday. Okay, so that's why I want to just share with you first. Okay, or who knows, right? Worst case scenario, there's this went down, hit our stop, and then we'll be out of the trade. Okay, yeah, so that's on dollar franc. Just want to quickly touch on that first. Now, so with that, let's go back to Aussie and New Zealand. Okay, I'm starting to pay very close attention to Aussie and New Zealand because you can see again where we are. Okay, we are kind of at the key level, right? Very important support level that has yet to be broken. Okay, and ask yourself again, how did price comes down? How did price come down to this level? Very correctively and very slow. Okay, so what does this tell you? There's a higher probability this will probably bounce. Okay, the question is more of, will it bounce? Will it have a higher probability of bouncing now, or it might take a couple of more days in terms of doing something like that before the move. Okay, so my view over here is right now I will still be patiently waiting. I believe that there is still a little bit more downside for the Aussie. Why? Because just now, if you take a look at the S&P, okay, what's happening to the equities market is coming down, right? And I did cover this with you before. When the equities are coming down, we're in a risk-off environment. In a risk-off environment, Aussie, Kiwi tends to also weaken. Okay, so there's a good chance we might see a little bit more downside on the Aussie dollar over here. Okay, so I'll just be patient. What I want to see is more of either a divergence build up in this way, or I want to see at least a first push up followed by a consolidation that looks something like that. Okay, so in this way, then we take the buy trade. It's actually safer. So similar here is Kiwi dollar. Don't need to rush, but I think both of this might start to give us a much better and clearer opportunity maybe by Tuesday. Okay, so keep an eye on this too. But right now is not the best time yet. Okay, maybe next Tuesday when we come back, I think this too might give us a solid one. Okay, follow up on on the Tuesday sharing session as well. We did mention about dollar Canadian, right? And we talk about how we want to see market react off this level. So today, just to follow up, you can see how the market has developed since then. And we always ask this question: how did it move, correctively or impulsively? If you take a look at this, it's not very strong. Okay, it's still maintaining within the channel. It's going up down within it. So it's a corrective move. What does this mean? It means that there's a very high likelihood we're going to see more downside on dollar CAD, which means from here it can react and come back down before the next move up. Okay, so what you want to do is right now just be patient. Again, you do not need to keep trading the market. You just want to trade the higher quality ones, right? So dollar CAD, again, just be patient. So even though there's no trade that we are looking out for right now on dollar CAD, I want to still talk about it so that you can see that follow up, right? You can see that thought process as to what exactly we were looking out for, how the market has developed, and then when the market has developed accordingly, what's our next move? So that's what we call like kind of follow through. Okay, so hopefully you can appreciate that aspect as well, right? So dollar Canadian, pretty much similar to like Aussie and New Zealand, not much, okay, but we'll just keep watch on it. Okay, dollar yen, there is an opportunity coming. Okay, if you take a look at this, even when we just zoom in a little bit in terms of this scale here, we are seeing a divergence, right? The price went up, RSI actually came down a little bit. Okay, so how can you capitalize on this? It's definitely a very aggressive entry if you're looking at it right now. Of course, the entire trend is up, right? The entire move is up, and we are looking for a reversal. So reversals are usually a little bit more aggressive. Okay, so what you can do is you can actually add in layers to make it safer and wait for the market to give you some sign of confirmation. Okay, so from this scale, from a 4-hour chart perspective, what I mean by confirmation is wait for a push back down, wait for a flag. Okay, then you take this setup here. That would perhaps be a better and conservative way of trading it. If you look to sell it now, it might be a bit aggressive because from here it can still do something like that, right? You can just continue to climb. So again, there's no right or wrong, depend on your personality. Now alternatively is you can go to the 1-hour chart. Of course, you can always zoom down to lower time frame, and what you can do is you can look up for the low. If let's say the market breaks below it, that's a small 1-hour flag, you can take this trade down from here as well. Okay, so dollar yen, again, depending on your strategy in terms of your risk profiling as well, there's a potential setup over here. Okay, your target can put as somewhere around 13425 as your first take profit conservatively, because again, why? Key level, if this starts to come back down, there might be some reaction there. But I would suggest if you're looking for the sell, you might not want to take your entire trade off at this level. There's a good chance this would fall lower and retest this. Okay, so you might want to just take partial profit at 13425 and leave the remaining trade running just in case if it decides to keep falling. Okay, so dollar yen, look up for that. I think you might get a decent opportunity. Okay, last Tuesday we did talk about Aussie yen in terms of the godly pattern, right? As of now, nothing has really moved yet, so everything is actually still intact. Yeah, so nothing much to really follow up from that. Okay, but maybe just touch on it a bit, right? For those of you who are a little bit more on the traditional pattern, I think there's this channel here as well. Okay, and just now at the start of today's sharing, we talk about equal move, right? 1:1. You can actually map this here as well, and roughly it will complete around that level, which in terms of harmonic pattern, kind of similar, right? Kind of similar. Okay, so there's a very nice confluence for Aussie yen around 96 level, if you're looking at that. Okay, for a potential short-term sell. Okay, so this one again, you can take it down and you can flip it and use this technique, right? Equal move, duplicate that, put it here. Likely where can it go towards? Somewhere in this zone, right? Okay, around the 91 level, which is here. Okay, so hope you can see, right? The upside, you can use that principle. The downside, you use the same principle. Okay, and you can use the same principle to spot for entry potential. You can also use the same principle to spot for potential take profit levels. Okay, so Aussie yen, pretty nice. The rest of it, in terms of the yen, personally, I would suggest just be patient. A lot of the yen are currently consolidating, which is not technically the best time to be looking out for. Other than that, a lot of this crosses here is also very, very choppy. Okay, not the best time. However, having said that, some of you might be kind of interested in this kind of move as well. Okay, I mean, this kind is aggressive in nature. Okay, so we had kind of like topish formation over here, very, very slow move up. wait for a little bit of a consolidation for me, then I'll take this trade down. For this, maybe next Tuesday, right? You still have time to look out for it. So a couple of major crosses over here are setting up, but you're likely not gonna get any trade this week, right? So I would suggest be patient, but keep watch for it, okay? Because next week, if things do develop according to what we want, we might have a couple of trades here and there in terms of the crosses, right? So you can see Euro Kiwi is definitely one. Euro Odd not so much. Yeah, I mean, like Euro Kiwi is definitely the one to watch for next week, okay? Not now. But again, you can see, right, how this kind of analysis methodology, which I'm sharing with you right now, is able to pre-plan way ahead the market, right? So you realize I can even start planning like what do I want to share, or what can be potentially some trades that I can share with you next week already. Okay. Again, I talk about forecasting, right? This is the ability to do that. Okay, so keep practicing. Every time when you sit in this kind of sharing session, don't just look out for trade ideas. Okay. As the saying goes, right? If I catch a fish for you, you always need to rely on me. But if today you learn the ability to catch the fish for yourself, eventually you can do it independently, right? So I hope as you spend time with us over here, on a weekly basis, don't just focus on like what trade can I take now, what trade can I take today, but go deeper, right? Ask and see why am I looking at certain things. When I share with you all those little tips, hopefully you are taking down notes. Hopefully I'm at least making some mental notes as to why am I doing that, so that you can also duplicate that process for yourself when you're trading it. Okay. Another one that we might look into next week is actually Euro Pound. Okay, it's doing a very, very nice pattern over here as well. There's a good possibility we'll see a little bit more downside on Euro Pound, okay, towards this level here. But first, of course, I want to see some kind of consolidation, which we probably need to wait until next Tuesday anyway. And the nice thing about it is that if Euro Pound drops, likelihood can be Euro weak or Pound strong. And in that case, we would have the Pound strong, and then ideally this starts to go, right? So that can be the nice thing about it as well. Okay, so kind of like cross-referencing. Yeah, so we have the Euro Pound, we have the Euro Kiwi. Some of this is getting interesting as well. If you take a look at Euro Cat, we're kind of coming back towards this level. Again, not today. But you see, right, how many times? 1, 2, 3, and then maybe this is the fourth, right? So again, look out for how it's going to develop. Maybe by next Tuesday again, we're going to get some clarity in terms of the pattern. Okay, this is a very nice range bar environment. Okay, so you can see if let's say we're going to get a trade somewhere here, we can take this all the way back to the top. Right, so EuroCat definitely one to keep an eye on. Other than that, there's really nothing else right now. Okay, all this you can just ignore. They're not high probabilities, right? So good. We'll take a look at gold soon. Okay, but let's summarize a bit in terms of the FX side of things. We do have the pound dollar. I think this one here you might get a trade maybe by tomorrow or maybe tonight, depending on how the market move. So this is the closest you're probably gonna get. We have dollar franc that's running. Okay, these are the two, and then of course you can keep watch on Aussie yen. Okay, and then next week when we come back, we have a couple, right? Euro pound, Euro kiwi, Euro cat. Of course, we have clarity in terms of Euro dollar Canadian as well by then. Okay, so those are the FX side that you definitely want to keep an eye on. let's take a look a little bit about gold. Okay, if I recall correctly, again, last session, Tuesday, right? We shared that if you're looking at gold, again, what's this? This is pattern. You see that? Okay, and right now we get a very nice reaction off that, right? So, what does this tell you? Upside, right? Upside. Where can gold likely head towards? There's a very high chance it's probably gonna go back and retest the high here, which is around 1857. Okay, so for those of you who traded it, managed to catch this, it's a very quick rebound. But if you manage to catch it, congrats, right? You might want to manage your position accordingly. Your target, you can put it at 1857. Now, in the event that you did not get involved yet, don't need to rush in. What you can consider to do is maybe go down to the 1 hour time frame, wait for a 1 hour flag, okay, something like that, and then you take this breakout, the upside, right? So there's this term in trading called FOMO, right? FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. And it's one of the mistakes that a lot of traders commit to, because they see the market move, they are afraid that they may miss out on the move, they jump in emotionally. Okay, for example, you saw this, wow, I wanted to get involved in gold, but because for some reason I did not manage to catch it. Now I see the move has already moved, and then what they do, they jump in now. Okay, so that's part of like FOMO, right? Because they're afraid that they might miss out on that move, they jump in. Okay, things like this, unless it's part of your plan, which I don't think anyone has a plan for that. Okay, don't jump in immediately. Okay, if you really miss out on that move and you don't get a second opportunity to get in, just let it go. Okay, I always share this with traders, right? There are abundance of opportunity in the market every week. Okay, yes, some week might be less, some week might be a lot, but the market is going to be always there. It's never going to run away. Okay, the only thing that might deplete if you don't control it properly is your capital. Okay, so don't be afraid of missing out on opportunity, but focus on being very disciplined in managing your capital, managing your risk. Okay, so for gold, as I mentioned, okay, again, if you're not in, wait for the 1 hour flag, then only you jump in. If you don't see that, let it go, right? Because the market can just keep going from here. If you miss it, just let it go. Okay, so for now, based on what has developed in terms of gold, the projection is continue to look for upside towards 1857, right? Gold technically is still in the consolidation, so we are just basically trading the range. Okay, yeah, hope that helps. Crude oil, okay, Tuesday session we did talk about how this was very, very strong in terms of a V. You want to be patient. Okay, so right now we are seeing another strong move back down. Don't touch it first. Okay, don't touch it first. I think right now there might be some volatility in crude oil. Now overall direction, right? Overall direction, I would say, even I put it like that. Okay, so you have a smaller crawl here, and then of course you have a bigger flag. Overall direction on crude oil remains bearish. Okay, the probability to the downside is still pretty high, towards 93.97, or I'm just round a little bit to $94. However, you need to be aware that this can just do some kind of bigger consolidation before that drop. Okay, so don't rush in this environment. Okay, just wait it a little bit more. Now going back to the 4 hour time frame, when you start to see the market move in a very strong move up, strong move down, maybe next one strong move up, strong move down, most of the time this is a bigger consolidation, right? And if you try to trade within this environment, it's going to be very challenging. Okay, because if you buy and sell, you realize that that trade of yours is going to be like sometimes profitable, and then that trade will go into drawdown, and then become profitable again, and then go into drawdown, and it's gonna affect your emotions throughout. So what you want to do is just be patient, right? And use a principle of what I call tree wave. Okay, this is part of principles of Elliott wave. Okay, so something for you guys to take note as well, right? It's called tree wave expectation. The idea over here is that most of the time the market is gonna develop in waves of tree. Okay, so if we take this as the bottom now, we have one. This is probably developing two, or it might be taking some time to develop that two. And what we expect is potentially one more move up. Okay, of course, it's never gonna be always like that, but we can anticipate it. Okay, which means we expect that to happen, right? And from there, we then have this big consolidation, and within it, we have a 1, 2, 3. This would be a better time here to look for that sell back towards 94. Okay, now how long is gonna take to develop this? Based on this drawing, which probably gonna be somewhere around 14th of July, right? So maybe 2 to 3 more weeks. Then you get that solid potential if it develops according to that. If it doesn't, we'll keep analyzing and update our analysis, right? So again, this is a tip for you guys, right? Using various principles to help you in your analysis, to understand the direction, to understand the timing, to execute trades. Okay, so that's on crude oil, right? Just leave it for now. Okay, don't go and touch it. Next up, we have crypto, Bitcoin. Now, I don't think it's still the best time to touch on it, but we're seeing a little bit of a divergence already. Okay, is it gonna be a bounce from here? You can start to consider looking for potential buy, but I would say it's very aggressive. Okay, aggressive means I don't expect Bitcoin to do this, right? Of course, not so, not immediately up, but I don't expect Bitcoin to be heading higher. I personally feel that for the next 6 months, right, which means until end of this year, crypto market is likely gonna struggle. Okay, why is because back to this principle of money flow. Money is definitely flowing out of crypto. Okay, money is flowing out of crypto. Money is probably also flowing a little bit net out of equities market. That's why we see the indices are falling. We saw the equities market are falling. This is not gonna help because inflation is high. Okay, interest rates are gonna be high. People are definitely gonna pull out money, either to cash out for, they require the money, they require the cash, or they want to take out the cash to pay off their whatever mortgages that they might have because the interest rate might be high. Okay, so again, when you understand the principle of money flow, if money flows out of crypto and nobody is really putting money back into this market, it's not gonna move much and it's not gonna rally. Okay, so I think until we start to see the peak, okay, of interest rates, we are not likely gonna see crypto rallying much. Okay, yeah, so for those of you who are into cryptocurrencies, just be careful. Hey, can it fall further? The answer is yes, right? Can it go to zero? The answer is yes. Okay, so my suggestion is, even if you want to trade this up, be very, very short term to that, right? So you might just take the trade, put a target, take profit, somewhere around 22810, and then that's it. You get out, you look for a next opportunity if it presents itself again. Okay, so yeah, so for me, I do have a portfolio in Binance, right? Basically my crypto wallet. But right now I'm holding full on USDT. okay, which is basically USD, right? I'm not holding on to any coins, but I'm having my portfolio in crypto fully in cash, right? In cash in a way, USDT. But when it starts, okay, to really rotate it, right? Which I share with you, my view over here is that until interest rate peaks and start to come back down, I don't think crypto market is gonna rally much. Okay, so basically what I'm waiting for is when the interest rate starts to peak, that would be definitely that window of opportunity to start focusing back into buying crypto at maybe the low price. Okay, so that is something that I thought might help you a little bit, giving you my perspective on that. Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, so basically we kind of cover mostly the opportunities and the market that I would like to cover with you guys over here. We do have a little bit more time for today's session. Just like to quickly check any question from you guys. Okay, if you have questions, feel free to type it in so that I'll be able to answer them. Okay. All good, no questions. Okay, seeing pound is moving a little bit, so I'll probably want to also adjust my entry over here, right? So good. So no questions. Then we'll end off today's session over here. Okay. Pound is moving, so I'll need to quickly go and set up my order as well. Edit a little bit because right now my pending is still based on 4 hour, right? So I'll change it to this. Following the 1 hour chart over here. Okay, good. So with that, all the best to you guys who are trading. Okay, reminder to manage your risks, and I'll see you guys again next week. Okay, so see you guys. Bye bye.